Welcome back to the bunker. My name is Thijs, and I'm here with Boris today. And we're going to be talking about what it is to live abroad and be an expat. So let's dive in.
Let's go. The reason for leaving France was not I don't like the country anymore. I still love it. I loved it. But just sometimes you just feel like there's other way to see things. And when you're in one country, there's this one vision, this one way.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why, but when I was younger, I always wanted to travel without any reason because you're very young.
Yeah.
I still didn't travel anywhere at this time, but I was very attracted by going abroad. So it was the thing. So when I started to study, like around middle school, I was like, okay, if I have like an internship somewhere, I would love to do it abroad. So I think it was my first experience like going abroad. It was like going for an internship in the US.
Okay. That's
So that
really
was
cool.
pretty cool, yeah. But I was still young. You still rely on your
How old
parents.
were you? A little bit?
I would say I was around 16, 17.
Okay.
Like not too young in the way like I can be like independent, but it's more like, hey, I'm not working yet. I don't have money. Going to the USA is like quite expensive. You need your parents. I needed my parents at this moment. But then I was like, I really love to be like in another country because I also really love to interact with people that are not from the same background as me.
Yeah.
There are different culture.
Of course.
So I came back to France. I finished my studies, and after the studies, so I had like this job opportunity in France, and I was like, it's nice, but I feel like if I'm doing this right now, I'm gonna stay in France, and I'm never gonna do
Yeah.
like this dream. Dream is a big word because I feel like a dream is like more difficult to achieve. But I was like,
Yeah, more like a desire, I think. Like
Exactly.
something you
So,
would
yeah.
really want to do. A bucket
Yeah,
list item
exactly.
almost.
And
Yeah.
you know it, like if you have a job somewhere, it's going well. After it's a bit tricky to leave this
Yeah.
job, or if you're stable, you start to have like maybe a partner, have a house. So it's way more difficult. You can still go on vacation, but what I wanted to experience living abroad,
Yeah.
like a local, being a local somewhere.
Yeah.
I
Not
always,
just like for a little while, but really just there,
Yeah, exactly.
residency, everything.
like just to give you an
Yeah.
example, every time, and still right now, every time I go on vacation somewhere, I'm very frustrated because I feel like I'm doing all the tourist stuff, like
Right. Yeah.
what tourists do, because I don't, obviously you have to do it. Like if you go to Paris, you need to see the Eiffel Tower at least once.
Of course.
But you know, it's not the real life of Parisian.
No.
Of course, maybe they enjoy it sometime when it's sunny. It's nice to have a drink by the Eiffel Tower, but
They
it's not
don't
the real
go
life.
to get a baguette on their bike with the little hat every morning.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
they do
They do.
Parisian every day. You have to.
Yeah, okay.
No, but so yeah, I'm very frustrated. Like when I go somewhere and I feel like, okay, I didn't really experience what people experience there.
Yeah.
So ideally, I should go like on vacation. If I go somewhere, I should go like somewhere in a city for a month to really have this routine. Like you wake up, you go to this coffee place that you go every day. So you start to build a routine, and it's
Yeah.
obviously not possible, even though like lately it's more and more possible to do that with the flexibility company offer to
Yeah.
employees.
Of course.
So that's why I was like, okay, I finished my study. I need to go abroad.
Yeah.
Because it's the moment. If I don't do it right now, I will never do it.
So when you came to the Netherlands, I assume at the beginning you were still felt like a little bit of a tourist.
I did, yeah.
How long did it take for you to about get adjusted to feel like I actually live here?
That's a very good question. I would say it takes like maybe, of course, there's different step of slowly not being a tourist anymore. But I think like after a good year, you're like, okay, I'm
Okay,
from here.
yeah.
Because you've lived all the season, also
Exactly.
especially for...
You've done the routine
yeah,
and then
exactly.
it starts over.
Exactly,
Yeah.
especially for the Netherlands, where the weather is, as we know, not the most
No.
sunny weather. So you need to go through all the season to really know like what's different in every part of the year. And maybe after a year, but sometimes I still feel like, and it's obvious, like I didn't grow up here, so there are things that are not normal for me. Not that it's not normal, but not like something that I grew up with. So I still feel like it, but I'm not a tourist anymore because I'm part of the system.
Yeah.
I'm working here, I'm paying my tax here, I do everything. So
I mean, I can empathize a little with that. Like, I'm not originally from Amsterdam, so from time to time, I also definitely feel like a little bit of a tourist in my own city. I've been here for 4 years now, but still, some people say like, "Oh yeah, you must have been here," and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Like when I go anywhere, I always want to go to the spot where people go, the actual locals go, because should be the best part of the city. If they go there, they know it. And also I have this feeling, but I think it's the same for everyone living in a big city. You can't know everything. there's neighborhood districts like.
Yeah.
And Amsterdam is big, but not that big. Maybe it's easier. But if you live in Paris, London, maybe Berlin also, like, of course you can't know everything. And that's the thing I want to know when I go somewhere. But it's still the same when I go on vacation somewhere. If I go to Spain or to Thailand, I want to feel like, okay, I've been here long enough to have my routine and live like that.
So would you say then, coming to the Netherlands, that, going with the locals, would you say it's easy to get familiar with the locals, like make friends, or?
I would say it's not that easy, but also makes sense because, of course, like locals have their own group of friends. And I think one of the most difficult part of being an expat is to rebuild like a group of friends, like people you can rely on, people that you can trust. Because also you arrive at the age like where it's more difficult to make friends. You're not in school anymore. I mean, for my case, I didn't study here. So I guess if you study in the country you move, maybe it's easier because you were with other students.
Yeah.
But that's the most difficult part, I would say. After, if you want to make friends like with locals, it's more difficult. As I said, they have group, but there's this big expat community. Even though like you're not friends, it's way more easy to get a friend that's also expat because you live the same struggle, you had the same experience. So of course, but I would say the main goal, the goal is also to make friends with people from this country.
Yeah, of course.
There's something like, personally, I think it's not the same for every expat because a lot of expats also love to be with their other expat from the same country because they can share like the same experience, like food or interests. For me, it was totally the opposite. I didn't want to, or at least, it's not that I didn't want to be friends with French, but I was like, if I'm moving abroad, it's not to be with my fellow country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's to experience new things, new culture. It's not the same thing, just in a different place.
Exactly. So, but I think it's also what's very enriching, like meeting like people from all over the place. Like it's super, all over the world. It's super interesting because people have to share different things. And you realize there's no one vision. There's no one way of seeing thing.
Yeah.
And when you grow up, of course, you just learn like what people tell you. Of course, there's also different opinions in the same country, but history is written like by someone in one country, and then you learn that at school. So if you talk with someone from another like country who went to school in another country, you see, okay, history is the same, but it's explained differently. It's very
what kind of differences did you like learn about coming here, like France versus the Netherlands?
In terms of history, not much, but France versus Netherlands. It's like also the way what you can think about a country before. Like honestly, if I've been told like, hey Boris, when I was like 10 years old, hey Boris, you're gonna live in the Netherlands before, like later when you're gonna be like adult, you're gonna work there. I would have been, this country, there's not much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's because it's a small country. Like a lot of people think that, but when you arrive here, you're like, okay, it's way better than I expected. And I think if you talk with a lot of expats right now, there's a lot of expats in Amsterdam, for example, also in the Netherlands. You realize like, okay, this country, not many people talk about it, but maybe for a good reason. They maybe just want to keep
it to ourselves.
Yeah, because it's very nice. Everyone is very cool here. Everyone was very welcoming with me, very friendly. Also, the big aspect that's helped like a lot of expats to move here is like the level of English speaking, like the level of English here is like incredible. So it helps a lot for sure. Mm-hmm. So of course, English being the main language, it helps a lot, and that's very cool for sure.
So that's like a couple benefits about, or like surprises moving here. Were there also maybe some disappointments, like some challenges you had to immediately face, or like?
Of course, you have some challenges because things that, like, especially when you move here, like you have to restart from almost zero. Okay.
Yeah.
You have your knowledge, you have your diploma, maybe you got a job, maybe you have a little money to start, but you still need to start everything from zero. You need to find a roof, an apartment. But of course, you don't know the city. Like, for me, it would have been way easier if I was in France because you can also network with people you already know. Hey, do you have an apartment here? I was starting from zero. I didn't know anyone. I'm like, okay, I need to find an apartment. And Amsterdam is a very busy city, so it was very difficult to find at the beginning. Yeah. So this part is not
Did you like couch surf for a little while, like with friends?
Yeah, short-term renting, moving from apartment to apartment. It's not the funny part of it, but I think it's really worth it in the end. It's like, it's normal that not everything is easy at the beginning. Yeah, I would say that was the difficult part. But like a lot of people, when they move abroad, they say, or when someone in your family is saying, "Hey, I'm moving to the US, I'm moving to wherever, like to Spain," everyone is like, "Oh, that's a fairy tale. It's so nice." But they don't realize also the difficulty, like this part. They don't realize how difficult it is to enter a new way of living. Like also enter the administration stuff. Like you need to register, you need to open a bank account, you need to get an insurance, all the things. Because you don't realize this when you're a tourist, because most of the time you don't need to do it. It's short term, but long term it's totally different. And
was it hard to do? Is like the paperwork hard, or I assume like a lot of it is available at least in English?
Yeah.
Or
so I wouldn't say it was easy because it was difficult for a fact, but I think I'm quite happy that I did this in the Netherlands because, as I said, English speaking country. So I could find most of the documents in English. Also, when you go to any office, like the people working there, they can help you in English, which I don't think is the case for many countries.
No,
which for
probably would be, I would have a harder time moving to France and then getting myself in there.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's even though sometimes like when you fill in the document, you're like, oh, in the end, it's not that difficult. But also there's different way of working. There's just thing for me that didn't make sense here because I never experienced it in work in France.
Yeah.
So document they ask me, or I don't know, thing they ask me to do, or the way the system work, I was not used to that. It's just like not something.
They'll just say something with the assumption that you know exactly what that means or what to do, and instead you're like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. And also I think it's the case for most of the country. When you want to enter the system, it's always the most difficult because of course you need to find a job, then to get paid most of the time. The company asks for an IBAN from the country, which they shouldn't, as we know. It's kind of discrimination, but in fact, it's not like that, unfortunately. So the first month for me were quite difficult because I didn't receive my salary the first months, because I couldn't have a bank account. I didn't have a bank account from here at the time. And to get this bank account, they were asking me for this citizen number, the BSN number.
Yeah.
But to get this BSN number, I needed an address.
Yeah.
But to get this address, it was super difficult. And also sometimes landlord are like, okay, but you don't really have like a Dutch, in my case, Dutch bank account. So I'm not sure I want to
like
rent.
a circular thing where you just have to break out of it somehow.
But once it's fixed, after everything is way easier. But the first months,
you just have to go with a couple of months without salary.
This little struggle at the beginning, but also it reminds you why you're here and do you want to stay.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good way for a lot of people to realize that it's not that easy. Once again, I'm not going to complain because, as I said, this country is not the most difficult, I think, but still this little struggle reminds you, do you really want to do it?
Yeah.
Because if you go back, there's my family just waiting for me.
Yeah, of course.
Just waiting for me, and they would help me. Like I could just choose the easy option. But doing everything in the end, when you look back, it really worth it with everything that it brings to you in your life, like meeting other people from everywhere, having to work with people from every background, any country in the world. Super interesting for me, at least. That's something I look for.
Do you go back to France often, or like how many times a year?
I wouldn't say often, because if I say often and my mom listened to that, she would be very mad. But no, I try to go like 3 times per year. So every year I go back like for Christmas for sure. And after, it depends, like I try to go around spring because it starts to be nice, so we can have like very nice moments.
Yeah.
And after, like somewhere around like September, October. So 3 times, sometime more.
Would you say you notice any like changes when you're gone for a while, like to your country, or maybe just your community you came from there?
Exactly. Yeah, that's super interesting, because you think like, okay, I'm going back every 4 months, so you don't think it's much, but you realize that things change. Like it comes from like the city change. There's like, I come from a little city, so you can see like the shops, the new construction, but also like when it comes to friends or people, sometimes it's also the opposite. You see, oh, it didn't change, and I know this guy for 20 years and it hasn't changed since we were in middle school. He's still here, and I know that if I go back in 6 months, if I want to find him, he's gonna be here.
Yeah.
And if he's happy, I'm very happy for him. But that's the opposite of what I wanted in my life. I'm like, I just feel like it's a waste of time.
You want it to be more dynamic, more changing.
Yeah. But after, like, the other, like, it's maybe positive, or I don't know if it's negative or positive, maybe none of them. But you can see also with friends, like with their partner, someone's going to get a baby, and since you're not here, like, that much, I think you notice more the changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when you're with someone like on a daily basis, you don't realize these changes.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, can also make you appreciate the change, like being actually being able to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that. But did you ever live abroad, or did you ever work abroad?
No, I never lived abroad. I think the most I've been out of a country is like 3 weeks tops.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get a bank account. No, luckily I didn't have to. No, but yeah, so we now have this like a digital nomad program here at work. So after you've been here for a while, you can like stay up to a couple times a year. You can stay abroad and work from anywhere. So this year I'm definitely going to do that a lot. So I've tried Spain and Montenegro as well, and yeah, it's just nice to to have a change of atmosphere. Even though you're still working, if you're in a different country, you still get to have these experiences, meet new people,
like breaking the routine and just
just to get out of it for a while.
Very nice. So would it push you to maybe move abroad, like for long term, or?
Yeah, I think I would, and I think I would really like to go to the US. I wouldn't permanently move there, I think, but maybe for like a year or maybe 2. I think that would be really cool too. Yeah, just experience, growing up here in the West and Western Europe. Definitely, the US is always put on a pedestal. So I definitely, I think that'd be interesting to check out what that.
You want to judge by yourself. You want to see what's people are saying about it, but with your own vision.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, if you're just somewhere for like a week or 2, you just get the tourist vibe. You want to see what it's actually like to live there. Yeah. So you said you also went to the US. Yeah. What would you say was like a bigger, culture shock or culture difference, like going France to US or France to the Netherlands?
I would say US, but it wasn't that different because also like coming from Western country, you are used to all the movies. Like, so for me, like I was like kind of still a teenager, so it was more like funny to see like, oh, it looks like a movie, and especially where I was like California, so I went like quite some time to also to Los Angeles, so most of the movies there, Hollywood, the stuff. So it was like a movie or a video game, like, but in the end we're quite similar. Like, okay, the way people are dealing with work or money, maybe it's different, but at this time I wasn't like impacted by that. Yeah. So it wasn't such a shock. So I would say like in the Netherlands, maybe a bit more, even though we are pretty similar, but I had to do more tasks. I had to do more things in the Netherlands that I didn't have to do in the US. So for me, it was more different, but still, it's not like I moved like, I don't know, if in totally different culture, like it's still pretty similar for this country. Yeah. But there's still difference. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still difference, but mainly like, I don't know, we can call that because it's like the spine of it. I don't know what to say, but the infrastructure, everything is like quite the same. What changes is the surface, like the food, the culture, what you celebrate, guys. And that's also what I like, because you discover like new way of celebrating, new things to celebrate, and that's super cool. Yeah, a lot of random days off here, especially this time of year. Exactly. So that's pretty nice, and I can combine both for me. So I have the French and the Dutch one, so it's even better. Nice. It's even better. You just go wherever the day's off. Exactly. That's nice. But you also work like in an international environment. Obviously, do you think that it brings you something, or what do you think about that? Yeah, I definitely. The people you're around, the people you interact with, they influence you, whether you want it or you experience it that much yourself. But yeah, I've already had friends like say to me that that have become a bit more international minded too, like not set in the ways of like, this is the Dutch way. Yeah. Funnily enough, still very direct, like definitely kept that part of the Dutch culture. Yeah. It definitely has an impact, and yeah, of course, it also makes me want to, explore other countries. Whereas before, I would probably like stay a bit, Italy, Spain, France, those kind of things. It's already nice. Like if you go with the friend from there, like it's also what I like. Like you can go somewhere in Italy with an Italian friend, or Spain with a Spanish friend. And even though it's not that far, even though you went already like as a tourist, the vibe is totally different if you go with someone from there. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool to say, hey, like when you visit somewhere, you're like, I have a friend from there.
Exactly.
I feel like it's super cool.
Yeah, they can introduce you to the real local things you might not even find in a guide.
Exactly.
Or,
The hidden gems.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's
the little restaurant around the corner that nobody knows.
Exactly. But you said so the fact that you work with this international environment also, do you think it changed you a bit the way you are? Or because you said like you kept the Dutch directness, right?
Yeah.
But then what did you change?
Well, I did already before speak English quite well, because that's just the Dutch. They get it spoon-fed from as early on as possible. But it definitely became more because, of course, here every day, unless you're talking one-on-one with a Dutch person, you'll be talking to everyone in English. So future for you, would you you say you wanted to travel and like live abroad? Do you think it'll be Netherlands for a little while longer, or maybe something else in the future?
As I said, like if you ask me like 10 years ago, like where do you think you would be, Boris? And I think I would have easy answer would have been I would be in France, maybe not in the country, in the city where I'm from, but maybe in the big city, one of the big city of France, which makes sense, where it's easier to find job. But I would never have said like I'm living for almost 5 years right now in another country. So I don't really want to give you one answer to that because I don't know where I will be in 10 years. The only thing I know is that I really like this country and I feel good here. And I feel like, as I said, I felt welcome and I feel like I can have like a good job and I can grow myself, and I'm surrounded by a lot of international, even though it doesn't mean that at some point maybe I will look for more sun or
it's definitely
a language that is
must.
easier for me to master, like a Latin language maybe. I don't know. But for now, I'm good. But
you've started learning Dutch.
Yeah, if we can call that learning Dutch, but let's not
try it.
No.
Okay. No. I will spare you that.
No, it's so different for me. Like it's it doesn't make sense for me. Which
the language,
in the way to construct like sentences or thing like that. So it's very difficult for me. But I guess it's also very difficult for you if you had to learn French. So it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse. So in this sense, I think I just keep it easy for me. I stay in my comfort zone because everyone speaks very good English, which is not good, which I'm a bit ashamed of. But
would you say that everyone, because everyone speaks English so well here, that it's actually hard to start learning Dutch because nobody actually speaks it around you?
I would say so, because I remember the first week I arrived here, I was like, okay, in a year I'm done. I'm fluent in Dutch. So I was trying, at least when you go to the supermarket, to the cashier, trying to thank you or can I have this, that, like very, very basic Dutch. I was starting, but the thing is, obviously my pronunciation was very bad and they were replying in English, which made it way easier to me. And then at some point you just get used to it. You just go for the easy option.
You don't even try anymore.
Which is super nice. Like, I want to say thank you to all these people, but at the same time, I'm not thank you, because if they would have forced me to speak Dutch, maybe I would be better.
Yeah.
But once again, I can also tell them, hey, I would like to train Dutch. So it's also between my hands. I can't complain.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Even when I now go to a restaurant here in Amsterdam, I'll probably start in English with the waiter unless I can tell for very sure that they're Dutch. But that's just also the culture here with so many expats.
The level of English is so good that sometimes it's even difficult to spot who's from where, who speaks what language. It's very impressive. So it's very nice. But maybe I should force myself a bit, be a bit more tougher on me. But this is what it is.
Yeah. So how hard was it, like setting things up, like moving here, like, I don't know, insurance or maybe a bank account or stuff like that?
So at the beginning, I think it's like mainly also try to understand how the system works. And I think Netherlands is pretty good on that because everything is online. Everything is like related to this number you have. So you put your number, like your BSN number, and you have everything like insurance, whatever is linked to it. But what's difficult is to set up all of this. And I said like everything is linked. So if you don't have an address, you can't register. If you're not registered, you can't really open a bank account at the time, at least for me. And then if you can't open a bank account, it's more difficult to get paid by your employers, which money is quite important, even more when you move, because you have quite some expenses. You need to pay for a travel ticket. You need to pay also to find like a room to sleep somewhere. So food, everything. I mean, everyone needs food at some point.
Of course.
It's not the best time. In terms of finance, it's not the best time. So I just went to the traditional bank at the time. I was like, yeah, I just want to open a bank account. And they were like, yeah, no problem. But then we need this number. And I was like, I don't have this number. And then you go like back to the office. They're like, yeah, but we can't give you this number because you don't have an address. And at some point you start to be, wow, that's difficult.
Yeah.
At some point I did manage to do it, but it was like very complicated, let's say. Even though after the banking offer was good enough, let's say, or not that difficult, I think that it would have been way more difficult for me in France in the same situation. But still a struggle. And then after, I discovered like being like with all these expats, surrounded by this expat, they told me, but why didn't you open like a bank account with bunq? Because at the time they still make it easy like for people to just open a bank account without all the thing. They just give like this period of time where they allow people like, hey, we can provide you with a bank account. Right. It's gonna make your life easier. But then we still need this document. They still. But
at least you have some time and you can get your salary.
And the fact that if you unlock one of the three things that I mentioned, like address, insurance, or if you unlock one of them, it makes everything easier. So then you can set up everything
and the
faster.
dominoes start falling.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think at the time I would have appreciated that. And that's also why and how I discovered bunq, because by talking with other people with the same lifestyle as me, I discovered now, I was like, okay, I didn't decide to go for the easy option this time. I usually decide to go for the easy option. This time I don't know, wanted to go for difficulty apparently.
Yeah.
But
maybe you wanted to be, real Dutch with a really old-fashioned bank.
Maybe, but I think it's also the way I grew up. Like, also I didn't have to set up a bank account because my parents opened it for me, so I never had to do that. So what you do, the first thing when you have to do it, you just go to the first branch you find, because you saw this brand on TV. You're like, okay, they might be reliable, and you just do it, but you don't really know how it works.
Yeah.
And after the other struggle are, of course, like getting insurance, because obviously I got insurance in France, but it's not always the same thing you need to insure. Like sometime in France you're already insured, like because you're French, or so I didn't really know what I needed to do. So you need to read a bit online and try to understand, go to this forum with Expat, and so we can all cry together, you find a bit of support.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think the first month were tough for that, but then once again I think Netherlands is pretty good for this.
Yeah.
Could have been better. Everything can be better and can be improved. But I think looking at other country,
does it maybe sometimes help? I don't know if you've experienced that here in the Netherlands, that you find other expats and you can learn from each other.
Exactly. I think that the main thing, you just try to find the people that are in the same situation as you, because you don't feel alone. I think that a lot of expats. Maybe I'm talking too much for all the expats, but I think one of the problem or the issue is like sometimes to feel alone. I know a lot of people told me that like the first year they were here, they couldn't really make friends, and you feel alone, you feel far from your family, and you need to rebuild everything. And so like finding other expats is also very nice, because you can share this problem with them, or you can also share your experience and you listen to them, and that's very important. And weirdly, the fact that you struggle at the beginning push you to go to these people. So maybe struggling makes you have new friends. So it's a bad thing for a good outcome, maybe. I don't know.
Would you say a workplace, like a job, also helped in making friends and connections? It's
definitely one of the most important thing for me, because I didn't study here. I guess if you study here, like when you're in university, it's very like cosmopolitan also, so you can meet a lot of students that are in the same case as you. But I moved right after my studies. So I moved to a workplace. So if you go to this traditional workplace where people are already have partner, kids, it's going to be difficult for me, like a young guy who just arrived, to make friends. But like I
unless you go to the barbecues and
exactly. But do you want to go to the barbecue with them? And so I, before like joining bunq, I worked like to another company which was also very young and very like full of international people, and this is where I met my first friend that I still have right now. So I think it's one of the main aspects, because yeah, we all like in the same boat, and we're like, okay, let's get together, let's be friends, and let's enjoy life. And this is very important. It also makes like the daily work, like daily day at work, way better. If you're also working with people you appreciate that side work. So that was like a very important aspect when I moved here, like making new friends through work.
Yeah.
But I guess it's not possible in every company. I mean, more and more, I guess, right now with this new company that accept international people from everywhere. But it's was very helpful for me, at least.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe, like, share it. If you have any question, just drop a comment. We'll answer it. And bye.
Bye.